investigated it, spent a huge amount of money and resources, and then they decided it wasn't for them. Then it started appearing online, and then some stupid magazine decided it's time to publish it in print. We suggested that perhaps the public might like to know why this story wasn't appearing. And we suggested that the reason the story wasn't appearing is this is the man in charge of newspapers. He's in charge of press regulation. He was chair of the Select Committee for Culture and Media and Sport and Minister for Fun. And the story started when he took this prostitute, or sex worker, as we now say, or dominatrix, or Miss Spanky. You see, I'm trying to be responsible here, and you're going old tabloid.
I'm just quoting from the card in the telephone box. Don't you think that sex worker lacks music?
Yes.
I mean, try a trombone and It sounds to me like she's in the Village People or something. It's a bit kind of gruff, isn't it? I just thought, I don't know, Magdalene. Perhaps something like that would be better.
Romantic liaison officer.
No, something like that.
To be fair to the press, they have made it clear that they don't do kiss and tell stories anymore.
No.
They've learned their lesson from Levison.
Except during the period they had the Whittingdale story, they ran stories about Brooks Newmark, Tory MP you've never heard of, Simon Danchuk, every single jot and tittle of his sex life they ran in full. They ran the Labour peer, his sex life, prostitute, the whole thing. Except in the case of the man who's in charge of regulating the press and beating up the BBC, oh, we don't run that sort of story. We only run the stories about everyone else.
Yet the clever dominatrix lasted for 6 months until he broke it off when he found out about her occupation, and the revelation was covered in the Daily Telegraph. Whittingdale had a relationship with dominatrix by political editor Peter Dominichak. It's so close, isn't it? Has his relationship with the dominatrix put John Whittingdale in a compromising position?
Well, we don't know, do we? Not now, no. Isn't there some issue about him having taken her to the MTV Awards, not having declared it fully on the MP's register of interest?
Yes, he did take this lady to the MTV Awards, and he didn't declare it on the register. And he now says that it was...
because it was the MTV Awards, of course. You wouldn't want to own up to that particularly, would you?
What has Downing Street had to say on the matter?
Well, Downing Street can't say much about transparency at the moment, can it? So
they probably said today it was a private matter. In about a week's time, they'll be saying something else. I just really want to see her tax returns.
John Whittingdale has the full support of David Cameron. They're saying thanks for distracting attention away from all that tech stuff. Which story is the press more interested in publishing but can't?
They are very interested in that celebrity couple and the threesome.
Yeah.
But that's a
They're very
story of huge
interested.
national interest.
But you see, that's the point. The point is, with the Whittingdale story, there's only 2 people involved. That's why they're not running it.
Do you want to name the people under the injunction? Go on. No, I think it would be better coming from you.
We have more authority.
It would have a lot more authority if people would like it. Go on.
We don't know who they are, though in certain parts of the United Kingdom, the name has been revealed, which suggests that things are...
We're all right to say the word Scotland.
Right, their names have been published in America, in Canada, by a newspaper in Scotland, and by a political blogger in Ireland.
But I mean, it'd be interesting to find out, because obviously we're not going to say anything about it, but it'd be interesting to ask the audience if they know. Not say out loud, but just put your hand up if you know who we're talking about.
Whoa!
That's virtually everybody, so...
It's Ryan Giggs.
What potentially would be the punishment for breaking this injunction at this point?
Well, I think you'd be guilty of contempt of court.
Right.
And you'd be breaking an injunction, and that's a pretty serious charge.
You go to jail.
So those of us who've been guilty of it before are pretty damn wary.
Very well. You know this subject very well.
We'll get the story eventually, and everyone will go, oh, is it them? Oh, I thought they might be doing that. I did.
Are we thinking of the same people?
How is the House of Commons Speaker John Bercow involved?
Last time there were super injunctions and injunctions with famous people, members of the House of Parliament got round it by just shouting out the names in the middle of debates. So you were having a debate about, I don't know, International Women's Day or fiscal attitudes to the United States, and you'd shout, Ryan Giggs! And everyone thought it was very funny, and it was privileged. But this time he said, everyone's going to behave, I'm not going to have people being silly and just shouting out the names of the celebrities. So he's, as ever, rather ruined the fun.
The Archbishop of Canterbury. Friend of yours?
Well, yes.
Yes.
You can hardly say it was your arch enemy, could you? Not really.
Had his own bit of a scandal this week, didn't he, Richard? When it was revealed his father wasn't who he thought he was.
Not really a scandal, but it did raise an interesting technicality, because up until 1950, if you were, to use a rather unnuanced word, a bastard. Meaning someone born illegitimately, you couldn't be ordained. Thus, you couldn't have been the Archbishop of Canterbury. Of course, he's not the first bishop to have been thought a bastard by his clergy, but I couldn't possibly say any more about that.
But this was a story which the Daily Telegraph, having lectured everyone else about sleaziness, went in full steam ahead. Yeah, Archbishop's mum, bit of a slapper. Let's get the details. She was pissed all the time, apparently.
Well, we know the
Nicholas.
stories about the Archbishop and the actress. We've heard them over the years. They were based on fact. But he came out of it very well, I thought.
He came out of it easily.
Yeah, he did a very beautiful, gracious, generous statement, and so did she, and we kind of move on. And if that can rescue my ecclesiastical career, good luck to it.
What hasn't helped UKIP's Scottish election campaign?
Oh, putting up candidates was a mistake.
Letting people know that they were there. I don't know, what is it?
UKIP activist Jack Neal posted a picture of himself on Facebook. Let's have a look. Yeah.
Aye.
Now, but hang on. There's a perfectly good explanation, as usual, with UKIP.
Culture Secretary. Just to be clear, he's not a black man that's whited up from the neck down, is he? Let's be clear. I don't want to jump to conclusions. They call you a trick photo.
I don't think so.
Don't think so.
No, Mr. Jack Jardine, Mr. Neal's colleague, has said he's the UKIP candidate in Scotland. He said Mr. Neal suffers from acne, and as a result, he often wears facial masks to treat his skin.
That's the best I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Easily.
There's a huge spot on his nose by the look of it, so there might be some credence to his story.
Well, finally, let's return to where this all began. The BBC's Newsnight presenter Evan Davis seems to have knowledge of yet another MP's intimate details.
And a little earlier, I spoke to the Shadow Foreign Secretary, Hilary Big Ben.
This is the sensational news story about the government minister having sex with a woman who turned out to be a prostitute. Whilst it's true that Culture Secretary John Whittingdale did go out with a dominatrix, we should make it clear that he did absolutely nothing wrong apart from when he'd been a very, very bad boy. After the tabloids published the story, Labour complained that John Whittingdale has had the sword of Damocles hanging over him. Some people would have paid 50 quid extra for that. Hacked has been accused of hypocrisy for suggesting that one rule should apply to the likes of Hugh Grant and another to John Whittingdale. I'm not sure whose side I'm on, but I will say this for Hugh Grant. At least he knows a prostitute when he sees one.
Yeah. I suppose that's a kind of compliment, isn't it?
Paul and Richard, please take a look at this.
Well, there's David Cameron there, filling out his tax form.
Boris
Brexiting his bricks. Yes, going for the working class vote there. And what the hell's going on?
Cracks.
Yeah.
Wallpaper.
Where's your husband, Mrs. Roberts? Oh, shush, he's behind the bunch.
Well, this is, of course, the continuing row about tax and personal wealth, and why are so many Conservative MPs just furious with David Cameron?
He published his tax return. And now they all feel they've got to pile in their tax return. So we discovered that Boris earned, I think it was 600 and something thousand pounds a couple of years ago, and paid tax on it, so no story there. But that's kind of interesting. And now George Osborne has published his, and I think Jeremy Corbyn has had to publish his too. The Tory MPs, I think they're probably sort of worried because it's set a precedent now, and so whoever's going to be the next leader sometime down the line after Cameron will also have to do this thing, and so they're sort of like, holding hostages to fortune, I think is the...
But isn't that why
complaint.
Boris did it? Because he
yes.
thinks he's going to be the next leader.
Oh, yeah.
I think he partly did it just to show how much he earns.
He does seem to have an awful lot of jobs. Member of Parliament,
Yeah.
Mayor of London,
Yeah.
columnist in this and that.
Telegraph,
Not-
writer of books.
yeah.
And he still finds time for all his extracurricular activities.
Allegedly.
No.
The sponsor... I think because everyone piled in on Jeremy Corbyn, I saw a story that he had somehow, it's presented as if he'd somehow screwed the national exchequer out of £3 million, which was simply his wages for being an MP and his pension entitlement. Not as if he's kind of stamped the faces of the poor in order to get it.
No. I mean, and it's a typical sort of parochial distraction. We spend the whole week looking at people's tax returns, whereas the story about Panama was, how do we stop the world's rich bent money launderers, crooks and despots hiding all their money?
Yeah.
Do you know, I love that company name in Panama. I love it, the Mossack Fonseca. It sounds like a liqueur, doesn't it? Oh, we love that at Christmas. I like a nice glass of the Mossack Fonseca. It's marvellous. Bite into the chocolates. Brilliant, isn't it? Jeremy Corbyn had an unlikely ally this week. Do you know who that was?
David Cameron.
Uh,
You just said unlikely.
Well,
Well, he did say, I'm pleased. I don't agree with Mr. Corbyn on many things, but I'm glad to see that he's come out in support of staying in Europe.
No, actually,
Not him? No?
No, Paul, it was Danny DeVito.
Well, that's an obvious
my
name.
second guess.
He told the Press Association that he's a big-time supporter of Jeremy Corbyn, who was the best leader that Labour have had in years, adding, look at your history for crying out loud. A little sketchy guy hanging out with George Bush. What was his name? Blair? Danny DeVito also said, I like the idea of people telling the truth. OK, Danny, a lot of your films were a bit shit.
There was a furious clash at Prime Minister's Question Time. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Where Corbyn made a joke. It was quite good. Don't laugh. No, nobody did, but...
Well, they did laugh at Dennis Skinner.
Yes?
He made a characteristically salty intervention, didn't he, Dodgy Dave?
Yeah.
And then he got told off by John Bercow, who made him go and sit on the naughty step, didn't he, and calm down.
So you're not allowed to call the Prime Minister dodgy?
No. Because parliamentary convention says that you can't call into question the honour of a Member of Parliament, apparently. Imagine that.
We're not allowed to show the workings of British parliamentary democracy on this show, so here's an artist's impression of that moment.
I feel like there.
We're a couple at the door waiting to get married. It's Mr. Whittingdale and his friend from Village People. I'm very good when it's the phone wait, and it's the whip's office, you or me.
What's Sir Alan Duncan been saying about it all?
Oh, yes, he was talking about the suggestion that if you have to publish your tax return if you're an ordinary MP, then that will mean the lower orders entering Parliament.
Yeah, he said there'll be no more high achievers,
No more high achievers.
brackets like himself.
Yeah.
And, no, the thought that Alan Duncan thinks he's a high achiever.
He did indeed say this place would become stuffed full of low achievers who hate enterprise and know absolutely nothing about the real world. Well, in the real world where Alan apparently lives, he gets paid £615 per hour to advise an Emirates oil company. We've all done that.
Well, I mean, his first achievement in politics was to buy a council house under someone else's name, under the scheme where you could get them cheap. And he had to resign when that was revealed. I mean, his whole career has been one of high achievement, if you consider achievement shaming the House of Commons.
Well, this is the news that David Cameron has voluntarily been forced into publishing a summary of his tax return. Amongst other things, the documents reveal that David Cameron received £200,000 from his mother. To be fair, that was for his birthday and Christmas. And so, to round two, a brand new feature which I'm calling the Hall of Mirrors of News.
Oh.
I'm going to show you some images distorted in a fairground hall of mirrors, and I want you to tell me what the story is.
Okay.
Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Well, you needn't have bothered distorting that. We've got no idea. I mean, it's puzzling as it is.
Is it the Scandi version of the Adele single?
This is the news that there is finally a number you can dial to talk to a random person in Sweden, yeah.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
To celebrate the 250-year anniversary of Sweden abolishing censorship.
Oh.
You should ring up and say,
Great
who's the
idea.
celebrity couple?
Let's do that right now! You shouldn't ask them, according to The Guardian, things about IKEA and ABBA. They really are sick of that. And you know what they're really sick of? What they think about the chef in The Muppets. Had it with that. Had it with that.
I had a very embarrassing moment in Sweden as a clergyman, yeah. I was over for work stuff, seeing some people, and they said, do you want to come round later? I said, yeah, sure. And so we went round, and then we all had to have a sauna together. And I found myself with these strangers, completely naked in a sauna, and we had to thrash ourselves with birch twigs. And I said to John Whittingdale, I don't know about you.
I have a vision of you entirely naked, but with a dog collar.
Standards must be maintained. Yeah.
This is the phone line that gives you the opportunity to phone any Swedish person at random and have a chat. Swedish student Wilma told The Guardian, I'm available to chat to strangers anytime, and if requested, my sister's happy to join in as well. One caller was quick to react. Time now for the odd one out round. It's just one between you this week. Your four are Sir Nigel Gresley, Shirley Bassey, Margaret Thatcher, and John Walker, the inventor of the friction match.
The friction match. Is that a dating site? The statue of Mrs. Thatcher going up, and Carol complained that there wasn't a handbag
A
on
handbag
it.
on it. That's right. Okay.
So that looks like a train.
Yes. If you get the story about him, you get the rest of it.
Okay, tell us what's
Yeah,
going on.
yeah.
Well,
What
Elvis
do we-
Presley, he designed a mallard, and they were going to put a statue up to him, and somebody thought, the designer of the statue, that it'd be nice to have a duck, a mallard,
Oh, yeah.
sitting by next to him. And people said, this is insulting, we can't have a duck. And people said, no, we're going to have a duck. I said, no, we're not going to have a duck. So it's about what's been placed or taken away. So it must be sort of like Margaret Thatcher's handbag you mentioned.
So a duck for him.
Duck for him.
Is there a frictionless match next to the statue of John Walker?
Well, you're right. All the statues have something missing, except for John Walker, whose statue is of someone else altogether.
Oh.
Here's the statue. It's John Walker, an actor who looked pretty much like John Walker, the match inventor.
So they just commissioned the wrong one.
The council had tried to make amends. In 2001, they put this up at a roundabout. That's better, isn't it? And Sir Nigel Gresley, you were indeed right, Paul. He was very fond of waterfowl and named the trains he designed after them. The original statue was like this. But after complaints from Gresley's fans, the duck was eliminated. This has caused seismic tremors in the Gresley Society Trust. According to BBC News, there have been several resignations. The former vice chairman, a council member and press officer all resigned, leaving no one.
Does give the possibility that there could be a sleeper train called the Shag, doesn't it, if it followed through?
Are you sure you're cut out to be a figure?
It's really fighting something. That's just what the bishop said to me in the last email. But there you go.
And Shirley Bassey has been immortalised as Boadicea in a 20-foot-high gold-coloured statue in front of Carnarvon Castle in Wales. But there's a hole where the heart should be. Packed with body filler and sanded to a smooth finish, Shirley Bassey was guest of honour at the unveiling. Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication Plumbing, Heating and Air Movement News. It comes out on Friday, but they can't say exactly when. And we start with terrified couple bump into what in the Cotswolds?
Stopcock.
Is it Jeremy Clarkson?
It's the werewolf of
Yes, the
Worcester.
werewolf. The werewolf of Worcester.
The werewolf of Worcester. Robert Ingram, who was driving through the area with his wife, drew the creature they saw. Here it is. He said, it's scary to think that there are so many kiddies around where we saw this thing. At least they'd be able to draw it better. Next. Short-sighted baker, what?
Pours chocolate sauce over Labrador. Ice his own paunch.
That's excellent.
I think that's the best answer we've ever had. Ice is his own paunch. That's a fantastic sentence. Poetry. I should be the answer to every single question from now on.
Do you know what he did? Baked glasses into a loaf. And here they are. Next. Thanks to what, it's a good time to be in bathrooms.
The return of the colour avocado.
Yes. Norovirus.